Okay, good afternoon. We're going to try and explain a little bit more about Dragons Beyond combat system, melee between Horseman and Footman, and finally, we're also going to look at the rules concerning unhorsing a rider. Okay, so let's meet our combatants. So when we talk about our combatants here, we have a rider who is mounted on what I'm going to call a heavy horse. He's got a lance, he's got a shield, a full helmet, and plate mail. He is a fighting man level 2. We also have a Billman who is equipped with Brigandine, a bill, which is a type of polearm, and he is a fighting man level 2. He also has a, looks like kind of a sallet, a normal helmet. We also have the Spearman that we've already seen before. He is armed with plate mail and a full helm, and he is a fighting man level 2. The fighting men level 2 are all going to universally have 2d6 for their hit points. I'm just going to say it's the average, which is going to be 6 points for each of them. So the rider and the 2 men on the ground are each going to have 6 hit points. The horse itself, I'm calling it a heavy horse. Normally that has hit dice of 3. We're going to give that horse 9 hit points. It has no barding, but it will have the 2 attacks as a flail. And then we also have a movement of 12 for that guy. And the last piece of this that we want to talk about is movement, right? So the rider, I'm not going to dismount him unless some strange stuff happens here. You never know what's going to happen. The Billman and the Spearman are going to fight from the ground. We're just going to simulate him charging or circling, and we're going to assume that he is somewhere within range to continue to make melee attacks instead of having a massive table and worrying about what direction he goes after a charge and things like that. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so we're going to restart this entire combat because I apparently have goofed this up pretty badly. All right, we're going to start over. So the rider rolls for initiative, gets a 5. The men on the ground roll a 4. The rider is going to go ahead and choose to charge. He's riding a heavy horse, which normally does movement of 12. He is going to make his charge during the movement phase, but the resolution of the movement takes place during the second movement segment. It's the Billman's intent to unseat this rider, if possible. And the Spearman, on the other hand, is going to charge if charged. So depending on who this guy goes for, that's their declarations. So I'm going to just let random fate determine this. All right, fate says that he's going for the Billman. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He's easily going to get there. So he's making a charge move. This guy was not charged directly, so he is not going to countercharge. That's the end of the movement segment. Artillery and magic doesn't apply here. Missiles. So the Spearman could throw his spear potentially, but that would be a bad idea. Again, he chooses not to do that. That takes us to melee. So when we're talking about melee between horsemen and footmen, these rules state that if the horseman charges, the rider gets his first chop. He basically gets the first chop, right? So that figures out who's going to go first in this little get together. Yeah, so the Spearman's going to be out of it because he was paused to do a charge if charged, so he's not moving at all. Okay, so the rider gets the first chop. Rider chopping against this Brigandine armor, which is armor class 6. He's a fighting man level 2. Against Brigandine armor, he needs a 13. But because we're going to use the advanced combat rule for charges, so he has Impetus. That means he basically rolls this attack with advantage. So he has 2d20 that he's going to roll for hitting. and he needs at least one of them to show a 13 or better. Otherwise, he is missed. I get a 5 and a 17. So the 17 is a hit. So now we decide, is he going to be able to do is he going to be able to fully penetrate the armor? There's something going on outside. Sorry, I got distracted here. Can he fully penetrate the armor? Well, a mounted lance versus, again, armor class 6 requires a 5 or better on 2d6. Snake Eyes. Wow. No full penetration. He did hit, but does not get full penetration. Both of those are 1s. That makes it very easy. So 1 point of damage. Plus, he's a second level fighter, so he does get his additional +2 additional damage. So he does 3 points of damage versus this Billman. This guy had 6 hit points to start with and is now down to 3. I guess I'll just put a marker dice over here somewhere. All right. That's the end of his first chop. The Billman, however, wanted to unseat the rider. And so now I've got to flip to the rules on my screen and I'll just read it to you. Maybe I'll overlay it later. But to unseat a rider, this guy basically, he stated it at the beginning of the round. If he scores a hit and does 3 or more points of damage, the rider is unhorsed and then might be stunned for some period of time. So he's a fighting man second versus the rider. He's not attacking. When he's unhorsing a rider, he's not attacking the horse, he's attacking the rider. So this is going to be against armor class 2. He needs a 17, and he did not countercharge, which would have given him advantage. He really ought to have done so, except for the fact that he's wearing Brigandine, and he's therefore not considered heavy foot. Therefore, he cannot charge and get an impetus bonus. So he would still, oh my gosh. So I'll just show it up here. It was a 17 legit. So he has actually scored a hit. Let's see if he actually manages to fully penetrate the armor. A Billman versus armor class 2 requires a 10 to get full penetration. He does not get full penetration, but he does have 3 pips on that one or 2. I'm going to say this dice hit first. It was a 2. He's a fighting man second. He did 2 additional points of damage because he's a fighting man second. Does 4 points of damage. That's more than 3 points of damage. Therefore, this rider is unhorsed, and the rider must roll a d6 to see how long he's stunned for. So, oh my gosh, I rolled a 6. This combat is over. The Billman has unhorsed the rider. The rider is stunned for 3 turns. He's assumed to be prone and senseless. And I'm going to say that's pretty much the end of the combat because he is dead now. That's it. I'm going to turn off the recording. My dogs are driving me crazy. Goodbye.